Okay, good day. Welcome to our Utilities Committee. It is Monday, June 6th. I have 12 p.m. on my clock. And let's go ahead and get started with the motion to approve today's agenda.
Move to approve the agenda for Utilities Committee meeting.
Okay, since there are only 2 council members currently in today's session, I'll consider that good as gold. And our agenda is approved. And first up is going to be utility billing online payment portal demonstration.
Good morning, Council. If I could take a point of privilege, I'd like to introduce Carol Hellickson. She's our relatively new utility billing supervisor. She's been with us about 10 months, 11 months. She's been a great addition to our team. And with that, I'll turn that over to her to kind of introduce the topic and introduce our consultant, Lisa. So to you, Carol.
Good afternoon. So we are in the process of establishing our new vendor for our merchant accounts, and Lisa Schilt from Mpdus will be giving a demonstration today of the customer payment portal. Lisa, are you there?
I am. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me.
All right, Lisa, I'll let you kick it off. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carol. Let me go ahead and share my screen with everyone. Bear with me one moment. Okay, is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
We see a gray screen.
Yeah, blue, kind of blue-gray.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you see what I have up now is a one-time payment portal? Is that what everyone is seeing?
No. A blank blue-gray screen.
Blank blue-gray screen. Oh no. One moment, please. Okay.
Yes, much better.
Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you. So what we're looking at now, and everyone keep in mind, this is a demo. So what we're looking at now is the customer-facing one-time payment portal. So on this page, imagine this would be a link from the city's website. They'd be able to click on it, which will redirect them to this payment page. Say a customer receives their bill in the mail, they'd like to go in to make a payment on that bill. This particular demonstration has multiple payment types. So for this purpose, we'll focus on utility billing. In this section right here, you'll see an example of your customer would see an example of their monthly bill, which would look something like this here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and the customer would input their account number. They do have the option to pay on their account at the same time if they'd like. We'll go ahead and click continue. This brings them into the portal. Very simple, they'll fill in their information. And when they fill in an email address, they will receive a payment confirmation. So we'll go ahead and fill this in so I can show you that. This is pretty straightforward. Let's say they put in the amounts that they would like to pay. And also keep in mind, there are some additional fields here. This is just a demonstration, so we tend to open up all of the configurations. They do have the option to pay now or later. They can save payment methods. As you can see, I have several here in this demonstration. If there is not one saved at this time, they can go ahead and choose their payment method, input their payment, credit card information, which would be their account number or their credit card number, their expiration date, and the CVV. We'll go ahead and click continue. This is the payment confirmation screen. They can read the authorization terms, simply agree to those, confirm the information, go ahead and click pay. And then here's your payment receipt page. You have the option to make another payment, go back to the homepage URL that we assign. But that's pretty much straightforward. So this information will be emailed to the customer. And just to show you a quick example. This is typically what a payment confirmation email would look like. You have the ability to configure this. This would have the City of Lacey's logo here. But basically it just gives a snapshot of the payment that was just accepted. If we click make another payment, it would simply bring them back into the landing page. Where you can enter a new payment account number if they'd like. Now that pretty much sums up the one-time payment portal. The customers also have the option to sign up an account for a customer portal. So in order to do this, this would be the landing page. Again, it would be a link off of the city's website. I'll go ahead and just account already set up. However, if a customer would like to register for a new account, they go ahead and click register now. And it's a simple form. All the fields are required. So we basically would just have an email address. That's how every customer is linked up. Passwords, names, phone number, and then of course, security questions in case they forget their password. And that's pretty straightforward. Once they enroll successfully, they're immediately able to sign in. For this purpose, I'll go ahead and use the test account that I have. Okay. So with the customer portal, the customer does have the ability to add multiple accounts. So on this screen, not only do we have one account, we have multiple accounts logged in here based on payment type. So you will see utility, excuse me, and other, other accounts. But for this purpose, we'll go ahead and dive into some of the features. Once a customer has signed up and they add their account number to their portal, they have the ability to view their next due date, due, the link to pay the bill. We also have the toggle here to enable or disable paperless, which would basically send an email once a new bill is ready. In addition, that flag will be sent into your CIS system, so you'll have record that that customer is signed up for paperless billing. You can see that this person is already signed up for auto pay. But if we dive into this here, I click over here on the side, there's also additional links and options. One of those being the bill history and payment history. So you'll see that there's links on this main page for a customer to view their bill. Now with the City of Lacie, Carol and I were working to implement a PDF bill. So let me go back just one second. So with that said, when I click on view bill, an additional PDF will open up with that customer's current bill. This demonstration has our basic information laid out for you. So unfortunately for this demo, I won't be able to show you the PDF tab that will actually open up. So that's how they'll be able to view their current bill. And then if you click on bill history, it will outline all payments that were made within the system. And then from this link, again, you would be able to click that and it would pull up their PDF bill from that particular time. Another feature would be the auto pay. Customer can sign up to have scheduled payments through the system. Let's see, this particular person, like I mentioned, they are already signed up. However, let me go and show you some of the items that would just need to be input in order to set up customer. With our particular integration, the customer will be able to pay the bill monthly on the the bill amount on the due date, which would be this one here. The customer can set, the different options to end their auto pay at a certain time. They can have reminders set up that their bill is coming, that type of there. Of course, they can assign a credit card or some type of payment method to that auto pay. It's pretty straightforward with the auto pay. Let's see here. Let's do this. Go back to accounts. And if I click edit, some of the features, when you add a new account to the system, you'll immediately be prompted if you'd like to sign up for some of our features, our e-bill notification. A customer can receive an email notification or a text message that their bill is ready. They can also sign up for a bill summary notification, which is, it would account for an email, which would be a secure PDF bill that they can pay directly through that email, or they can receive a text message and they can pay that message through the text. So those are some features that you can sign up for. And also, I don't think I touched on payment history. This again will just outline the payments that were made in the system. And then also it will pull in any existing payments that the customer made outside of the Bmps system. The customer also has the ability to add to their wallet certain payment methods they can store there for any purpose moving forward. And then there's a My Profile, which the customer can go in at any time and update their information that they initially signed up with. If you do sign up for secure PDF payments, you can assign a password for that secure PDF payment here. You can update your security questions and as well as your password to log into the portal. Let's see here. I think that pretty much covers the quick overview. Are there any questions? I'll open it up. I know I briefly went through that portion, at least the customer facing, how they would experience that. Were there any questions from the group at this point?
Yes, I have a couple of questions, Lisa. This is Carol Cox. First question is, will people who currently are on the autopay system have to re-enroll in the new system?
That's a great question, Carol. And the answer is yes, they would. They would have to sign back up or sign up initially for Bmps to manage the autopay.
Okay.
So typically with some of our customers, we may tend to put a note or somewhere within the system, maybe the landing page, just to remind customers that if they have not, or if they would like to participate in autopay, that they would have to sign back up again.
Okay, you sort of anticipated my second question was what the plan is to notify customers and have a reasonable amount of time for them to transition to it. And then third question is internet security with you all. I mean, particularly the idea of your, entering multiple credit card numbers, and there's a lot of personal data there. What can you tell us about your security system?
Sure, I can give you a high level. Everything is PCI compliant. The information that is entered is encrypted. So let's see here. When a payment is made at the point of us sending the information over to the merchant services, we don't actually store the credit card information.
Okay.
Everything is encrypted, and it's that's the best that I could provide some feedback for you. Though
Okay.
everything is encrypted and PCI compliance with Bmps platform.
Alrighty, thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
To answer your second question, Carolyn, we have social media marketing tools as well as collecting emails from our current vendor so that we can do an email notification, letter insert for bill statements, etc., so that we can kind of touch our customers at numerous levels so they have a chance to make that transition. And one of the beauties of this is that the one-time payment can suffice until they have time to to establish a login. If they don't have time to do that initially, they certainly can do that. And we will be uploading history, some of their history of account of statements, so they don't lose that history. So a
Good.
lot of that will be coming to the new profile as well.
When does this go into effect?
Our initial date was the end of this month, but we are working on possibly extending that. We would like more time to communicate with our customers. So that's kind of being negotiated at this point.
Alrighty. Thanks.
Was there anything else on that presentation?
Looks like a pretty straightforward, customer-friendly system.
It is. It is very straightforward. I'm not sure if you'd like me to show you briefly. There is also internally for the city of Lacy, what we call an agent dashboard, and that everyone within the city that is requested, we can set up a profile for them. We can also set up groups and permissions to allow them to have certain features of the agent dashboard, but this is where you'll go in and you can take a look at real-time dashboards and keep track of the payments, declines, and returns in that aspect, and even between different channels of payments. And then, of course, the reporting is very important here through the agent dashboard. We have multiple ways and multiple payment reports to pull from here. Just to briefly touch on.
Gotcha.
So Lisa,
Yes.
Scott Egger, I'm the Public Works Director. So say a customer says that we broke their sprinkler system in a construction project, and we want to compare a history over, say, 2 or 3 years irrigation, just to, confirm whether their accusations are correct. Can you demonstrate the graphs or the tables that could be put together to quickly make that comparison? Or is this a tool for that can be used for that purpose?
Okay, and just so I'm understanding your question, Scott, referring to the consumption history per se?
Well, consumption or payment.
Consumption or payment. There is no specific consumption report with the agent dashboard. I'd be more than happy to look into that and see if that's something that we could add to the agent dashboard reporting. Payment history, of course, there are multiple ways to search for payments. Find payment is one of them within here. Also under the reporting section. I mean, the find payment is straightforward. Let me show you this here. You can search within a specific date range based on channel, whether it's the one-time payment portal or their customer portal, or leave it open in general and just search all payments. Status of successful, failed. Let me pick something. Let's just pick something here. And I'm not sure if this is what you're looking for. All of the reports can be downloaded, either CSV or Excel file. And this is strictly the payment report. This does not include the consumption history. Now, I noticed here, we do have a link it's not showing in this demo, so I apologize, but there is a consumption history here that we connect through Fusion. We'll be able to pull that information as well. It would look very similar to this type of report, though it would have the payment report, though it would have additional fields and data in there.
And you said that those summaries can be downloaded into an Excel format?
Yes, they can. The customer has the ability to download their history and files here. Though in the agent dashboard, you have the option, I'm not sure if you could see that. You have the option to download CSV or Excel.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see here. Was there any other areas of the system that you'd like me to review?
Ellen, how about you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good too. If we could stop the screen share.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Lisa?
Thank you, Lisa.
Absolutely. Would you like me to hold on in case there's any new questions, or you let me know?
I don't have any questions for you, Caroline.
No, no
Okay.
need, Lisa. Thank you for offering to go.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Carol,
Lisa.
I'll speak with you soon. It was nice to meet you all.
Okay, great. We're moving on to our 2022 Stormwater Design Manual. Now, it's like Doug Christensen.
Thank you. I'll share the screen. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I briefed you back in January about this project, the update to our stormwater design manual. So it's been going through public review and outreach, working with the Planning Commission, several presentations there. We've done an online webinar, a public hearing, and now we have a final draft that will be coming before council. So I wanted to go over with you. I guess we can do it this way. So I'll give you a quick peek at what we've got here. This is, again, our update to the City of Lacey's current stormwater design manual, which is dated 2016. We had to update it for compliance with Department of Ecology. I'll give you a little more detail on that in a moment. The schedule would have this in effect, going into effect this summer for any new complete project applications in the City of Lacie. So here's an outline of what I wanted to go through. First of all, I'll talk about the regulatory driver for this update, and then the manual itself, kind of an overview of what our manual is all about, some of the key components to it, the applicability, and then what's new in the 2022 edition. So this is driven by the Western Washington Mpdus Phase 2 Municipal Stormwater Permit. This is a general permit. It's the same for all permittees in Western Washington. And it regulates discharges from municipal storm systems. And we in turn regulate the storm systems within our jurisdictional boundaries. This is administered by the Department of Ecology. It applies to more than 80 cities and counties in Western Washington. And we've been under this Phase 2 permit since 2007, and every 5 to 6 years it gets updated. So we're now in the latest update to it, which went into effect in July of 2019, and the permit period goes for 5 years through July of 2024. And of course, each time they update the permit, they increase our requirements for compliance. And this update to our storm manual is part of that. So one of the many requirements under the permit has to do with controlling runoff from development and construction sites. That's section S5C6 of the permit. We're required to implement and enforce a local program to reduce pollutants and storm runoff from new development, redevelopment, and construction sites, both private and public. And when they say a local program, there are many aspects to that. Our site plan review process, the permitting, inspections, enforcement, all these things that we do related to stormwater management. And so the current requirement with this timing that has to be in effect this summer is for our stormwater manual, which is our local regulatory document. In that, we must include the minimum requirements, thresholds, and definitions that are specified in the permit. And at the same time, we have to have technical equivalency with Ecology's stormwater management manual for Western Washington, provide equal or better level of pollutant control. So it's the 2019 to 2024 version of the permit that we're addressing. And it's Ecology's recently updated 2019 version of their stormwater manual. These set the base criteria and applicability and requirements and thresholds that we have in our local manual. And our deadline for permit compliance is to have our manual in effect and being applied to new projects as of June 30th of this year. So coming up at the end of this month. So Lacy's Stormwater Design Manual is it's a technical guidance. It's used by engineers in designing drainage systems for development projects primarily. Our updated manual is going to retain most of the content and the format and the look and feel of our 2016 manual. This is not a major update. It's a relatively moderate update. We used our 2016 manual as the basis and then incorporate these updates that Ecology has done in their permit and in their Western Washington manual. So our 2022 edition is going to be similar to the current 2016 version. So our users are it'll look familiar to any of our users. Like I said, it's a relatively minor update and it has all kinds of updated content throughout it, figures and some clarifications that we made from using our 2016 manual for the last 6 years. I kept track of things that needed to be clarified or enhanced. And so those have been incorporated while we're doing this update. So our first edition of the Stormwater Design Manual, or SDM, was in 2010. That was in response to that first issuance of the Phase 2 municipal permit back in 2007. It required us to update our regulations to be in compliance by 2010, and we did. So it was a new manual at that time, based on Ecology's 2005 manual. I took their manual and reformatted it into a chapter format just to make it easier to use, and also condensed it. So it was only 640 pages, which is a lot, but Ecology's manual is close to 1,000 pages at that time. In 2016, we were required to do a pretty major update. That's when the biggest part of that was the incorporation of low impact development requirements, or LID. So that came in 2016. Our manual grew by about a third to 860 pages. And now this, what I'm calling a minor update, there's updates throughout it, but most of them are not very impactful. And so this is based on Ecology's 2019 manual, and we've grown a little more to 970 pages. Ecology's manual is over 1,100 though, so we're still a little more concise than their manual is. So the next half a dozen slides apply to both our current manual and the 2022 edition of our manual. Some things have not changed at all. The main objective is providing guidance and requirements for controlling storm runoff on development sites to protect receiving waters and maintain water quality. The goals are to reduce flooding and erosion, reduce the pollutant load in that runoff water, and then recycle that clean runoff water to replenish our water resources. The current storm management strategy, which started with our 2016 manual, it's in effect today, and it's essentially continuing without change in this updated manual. Ecology wants low impact development, or LID, to be what they call the preferred and commonly used approach. So that's sort of the goal that we're trying to hit with our current regulations in stormwater management. If you can at all, you retain your stormwater runoff on the site to the maximum extent feasible. Keep that runoff on the site where the rain falls. Keep it dispersed rather than concentrating it in ponds like we used to do. Keep it dispersed and infiltrate it into the soil, which more closely mimics the natural hydrology of the site before the development occurred. And then we implement BMPs, which are best management practices to control the flows and prevent pollution. So our current and 2022 manual have these same three primary components. There's the core requirements, which are the main elements of stormwater management that we address. There's the BMPs, which are the actions and constructed things that address the adverse impacts of runoff water. And then there's submittals of what's called a stormwater site plan, which are the drainage reports and drainage plans and details and other documentation that the city needs to review and approve for permitting projects. So I'll run through each of these just really quickly. The core requirements are required to be equivalent to what the Department of Ecology calls minimum requirements in their manual. I call them core requirements because within each of these, there are other minimum requirements. So I thought calling these the core requirements gives a clear indication that these are really the heart of what we look for in stormwater management. So there's these 9 things that all the larger projects address all 9 of them. Smaller projects will implement usually a subset of these. And every project, even the smallest little, like an addition of a carport, for example, would have to address number 2, which is during construction, you keep the water contained and don't let pollution happen. So BMPs, there's 5 main categories. The first one's on construction sites. So that's like silt fencing and the rock quarry spalls that they have at the construction access point, and many other things that are part of the construction site BMPs. There's low impact development BMPs like bioretention and permeable pavement. Runoff treatment. We used to do wet ponds. We hardly do those at all anymore, but there are all kinds of manufactured filters and other methods of removing pollutants from the water. Most of them are either settling like ponds or filtering. For flow control, infiltration to the maximum extent feasible, and there are various ways to infiltrate: the trenches, galleries, basins. If you can't infiltrate, but you have a large site, dispersion can be an option. And then there's also under this category would be detention systems where the water's ponded up and then let out at a controlled slow rate. And then source control. This is on a developed site, things that we can do to keep the rain from picking up pollutants in the first place. And then site plan submittals, we have 3 kinds. All the larger projects do a full, what's called a drainage control plan. These are sites that are putting down 5,000 square feet or more of new and replaced hard surfaces. Projects that are under that threshold, 2,000 to 5,000, would do an abbreviated drainage control plan. So it's scaled down a little bit. And then, like I said, even the smallest projects have to address core requirement 2. So we have what's called a SWIP short form. SWIP is Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. So the SWIP short form is largely an educational tool for people to be aware of how to control runoff when they're doing construction. So both our current and 2022 stormwater manual will apply to all kinds of land development, residential, commercial, industrial, and road projects. This is for new development, redevelopment, and construction sites, and both private and public projects. So we follow our own rules. This is changing. This has been updated, and in fact, in the ordinance to update the 2022 SDM that will be coming before council on the 16th, there will be this change to the Lacy Municipal Code, section 1427. The dates are being updated to correspond with the new manual. And this is straight out of Ecology's municipal permit that's now in effect. So the new SDM will apply to all permit applications submitted on or after July 1st of this year. It'll also apply to projects that had applications prior to January 1st of 2017, but haven't started construction as of this year. And it'll apply to projects that have submitted before July 1st of this year, but don't start construction by 5 years later. So if you got an application in real quick before the manual was updated, but you don't start construction for 5 years, then you'd be under the new requirement. But actually by then, we'll probably have yet another update to the manual.
Got a question. So, you know, it looks like you're about ready to answer my question, so I'll keep you rolling.
College has 9 significant changes, is what they call them, that we need to have in our manual to be considered functionally equivalent to the Ecology's Western Washington manual. So I was going to run through these. I'll just do them quickly because they get kind of technical. But the first one has to do with the modeling that is used to determine runoff rates on a development site. It has to meet certain criteria. The standard there, it says WWHM, that's the Western Washington Hydrology Model. That's a standard free program that Ecology provides, but there are other models out there that some jurisdictions use or some design engineers might use, but they have to meet Ecology's requirements to be accepted. The second one, replaced hard surfaces redevelopment threshold, that affects projects doing redevelopment. And if they exceed a certain threshold value that Ecology established, then they'd have to upgrade any existing site stormwater facilities or add facilities to bring it up to standards. So this was actually in effect already, but Ecology tweaked the wording so that the way the value is determined is a little bit different. The equivalent areas that allows flexibility for a project doing a redevelopment where they could do their stormwater Bmps that are required to be addressed, but they could do them in a different location if it works out better for the overall project. Ecology has some specific criteria to be able to allow that, but it's a potential way that a project can get a little flexibility in how they address their stormwater requirements. For core requirement 2, construction pollution prevention, there are 13 elements as part of that core requirement. And they've all been updated for consistency with Ecology's construction general permit, which was updated a couple of years back. For core requirement 5, on-site stormwater management, Ecology made a clarification that doesn't affect us because we already had that in effect. So that one really wasn't an impact at all to us. It's just a clarification. For core requirement 7, flow control, if you're discharging to a flow control exempt marine water, you have to meet certain exemption requirements. This doesn't have a big impact in Lacy at all because we have so very little even potential to discharge directly to Puget Sound. Construction washout, they've actually eased up on some of the construction washout requirements, which will actually make it a little better for contractors, a little more flexibility in what they can do with their concrete where they wash out after pour. Core requirement 3, source controls, Ecology is updated and adding a bunch of new source control BMPs that weren't included previously, and that, you know, they're site specific. The land use of a site determines which source control BMPs are applicable, and most of them aren't going to be applicable because the new ones have to do with, you know, certain specific activities, such as greenhouses, for example, or docks. So there's a bunch of new ones that won't apply. Some of them may in certain situations. And the last one was wetlands guidance. Ecology updated their guidance for what's required for monitoring and modeling wetlands. So we incorporate those in our manual because we're required to. Now we had some enhancements that we made. These weren't mandated, but they're enhancements we did just from having used our 2016 manual for the last 6 years and keeping track of things that needed to be clarified and edited, information that needed to be updated. There's references that were becoming outdated, and so they've been updated. A little bit of reformatting to help the user by turning paragraphs into lists and tables so that things were clearer. And then some other enhancements for the drainage control plan report. There's guidance for construction sites, guidance on underground injection control wells, which I'll talk about more in a minute, and fuel station design criteria, which comes from various sources, and it's been applied on recent fuel stations, but it hasn't really been all in one place. So now it will be in our manual. And then a new chapter 10. So our 2022 manual has 10 chapters. The biggest changes are in chapters 3, 7, and 10. So I thought I'd just quickly run through what those are to wrap this up. So chapter 3, stormwater submittals. In this chapter, it's all about the submittal information that needs to be provided for the city to review and approve the stormwater plan for a development project. So we have the abbreviated drainage control plan report and the full drainage control plan report, and the way those are described for the contents has been clarified and outlined. It was kind of in a paragraph form previously. Now we've got its sections and subsections, so it's clearer what information is needed. The idea here is that we were receiving a lot of incomplete submittals, and hopefully this will help the user make a complete submittal. And we're also developing a template that the submitter, the civil engineer that's doing the drainage report, could have the option of using this template to make it easier to keep things organized. So chapter 7, flow control, we've incorporated Ecology's underground injection control program guidance. That's the UIC program. They've incorporated it in their manual. It's from 2006 with only a little bit of updating. So they've incorporated it in their 2019 manual. So we're incorporating it in our 2022 local stormwater manual for reference. And this includes guidance for what's called deep UIC wells. Now up in Hawks Prairie, where we have a lot of the glacial till and sitestone infiltrate well, we've had several projects where they did deep UIC wells. And so we've learned from that experience that we needed to address this in our stormwater manual, because there could be more projects coming that similarly have trouble meeting the manual, and a project could be killed if they don't have a way to deal with their stormwater. So if a site that doesn't infiltrate could potentially want to propose deep UIC wells. So to avoid having some of the issues that have occurred up in Hawks Prairie with finding out after the fact that there could be contamination below the surface, or you could have other issues. We don't want to impact our wells, our drinking water wells. So we've incorporated guidance. It's based on ecologies, but we also tweaked it a little bit so that our submittals have a good level of hydrogeologic analysis before, upfront, I should say. And then the design and construction and submittal information that comes with the deep UIC wells, if they're proposed, will be better. There wasn't much design information out there, so we got consultant help on things that should be incorporated in the design of these UIC wells. And so those have been added to our manual. And again, this is to provide an approval path for projects that are located on glacial till and couldn't meet the stormwater manual otherwise. This will give them a path, but at the same time protecting our source wells from contamination. And then chapter 10, this is a new chapter in the manual, but it's information that we had in a different chapter. It was in chapter 3, but chapter 3 is all about submittals, and there is maintenance information required with a submittal, but it also goes on forever into the future because facilities need to be maintained, you know, as long as they're in place. So we moved this to a separate chapter. So the next steps, what I'm asking for is your recommendation to go to the full council to adopt the 2022 Stormwater Design Manual. So we can meet the deadline of June 30th and implement it starting on July 1st. And with that, I would take any questions you have.
Any questions, Carolyn? No, you're muted.
You're on mute.
Sorry. No, it was very complete. Thank you. You always do such a great job with this. Very thorough.
Thank you. I hope it wasn't too thorough. Too much information.
Yeah, it's a pretty complex subject matter, but very thorough. So I don't have any questions. Carolyn doesn't seem to have any. I appreciate your time, gentlemen.
Yeah.
And if there's anything else for the good of the order, I think that was it. Scott, anything else to add before we adjourn?
I think Doug needs a motion to move it forward.
Oh, okay. So I'll make the motion to move the 2022 Stormwater Design Manual Plan to the full council for review and approval.
Second.
Okay. I think we have a unanimous decision to do so, so we'll call that good. And
I think
Yeah.
we ought to vote.
oh, okay. Aye.
It's just aye.
There you go. So motion approved. We'll bring this to the full council for review and decision.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else for the good of the order? No?
Not-
Okay. So I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you everyone for your attention today, and have a great